Hello, Amherst County. Rob Arnold, Superintendent of Schools, and this video that I am going to share with you today is primarily for Amherst County students, Amherst County parents, and Amherst County public school staff. And the goal of this presentation is to give our school community members some information regarding what possible school year 2021-2022 will look like. That will allow you to have a good sense of the direction that we're going, so you can start to make decisions now regarding how you want to proceed. And so what we did first, about 3 weeks ago, we sent out a planning survey to get some background information, and it basically asked what were your intentions without knowing what we were going to do. What were your intentions? Did you want your student to attend 100% virtually, or do you want your student to be in school all day, every day? And so those were some of the options that we were given. So let me give you some of the results of that survey. So here was the response data that we received in about a 3-week period. And so we had 729 families respond. Of those, we had 1,208 students. And that constitutes about 30% of our school student community. And so we took that data and we broke it out, and I'll share that with you. So less than 1% said that they intended to do homeschooling options. About 12% said they would like to do 100% virtual, and about 87 or a little over 87% said they wanted to be in person. And so since that's about 30%, what that ultimately looks like is that about 400 students are looking for that virtual option next year. That is quite a departure from the 1,600 students that we currently have in the Amherst Remote Academy. So as you can see, a good majority of our students are looking to come back to in-person learning. So we have this data. And then we had information that there was a law passed this year, and that law was called Senate Bill 1303. And in this law, there are two items I think that it's very important for you to understand. And so I've highlighted a couple of words on here so you can see it. But in essence, each school board, so the Amherst County Public Schools School Board, shall offer in-person instruction to each student enrolled in the local school division in public elementary and secondary school for at least the minimum number of required instructional hours. And so what that means is, by law, once we start school year 21-22, our school has to meet the hour and day requirements. So we're required by law on a normal year 180 school days attended or 990 hours. So we can do either one of those. But in order to get those to happen, we have to go to school 5 days a week for the full day. All right, and so that's in this Senate bill. But the other area of this is that we are to, if we'll look down to part 2 here, it says, provide such in-person instruction in a manner in which it adheres to the maximum extent practical to any current applicable mitigation strategies for early childhood care and education programs. So what that means is that we are still required to follow CDC mitigation strategies. So right now, our what we're following is 6-foot social distancing, mask wearing, 3-foot social distancing on the bus, using sanitation products to make sure that we are wiping down surfaces, using hand sanitizer to clean our hands, and do several of these things. But the word I want you to focus on is to the maximum extent practicable. So what that means is that in order for you to get into school 5 days a week, all day, Some of the current CDC guidelines do not allow for us to do that. So, for example, if we were to try to get all of our students in the building every day, all day, with 6 feet of social distancing, we wouldn't be able to do that. Now, luckily for us, the CDC has changed its guidelines to 3 feet. So we believe that by moving it down to 3 feet, we can meet that. The other issue then becomes the bus. And so if the bus recommendations are still at 3 feet, we're going to have some real problems getting all of our students on the bus. So what we would be allowed to do is to provide an exception to put students on, 2 students on a seat, which will then allow us to get to where we need to get. The other section of this bill talks about virtual learning. And so what this says is that any local school board may, and that's very different from the slide I showed you before that talks about shall, may, for any period during which the governor's declaration of a state of emergency due to COVID-19 pandemic is in effect, provide fully remote virtual instruction. So what this is saying is that the school board may provide virtual instruction, but they also have the right not to. And so that is a decision that the school board is going to need to make as to whether or not they're going to provide a virtual option. If they do allow for a virtual option, what will that option be? What are the parameters around those options? And so by using the data that we received from our survey and this law that goes into effect July 1, I was able to last week at our school board meeting present a list of recommendations for the upcoming school year. And I'd like to present those recommendations to you right now. And this is based on our information. So for the following school year, what I recommended to the board, and so understand that no decisions have been made at this point. All right, so these are just recommendations right now, and they're general recommendations. So we are recommending that all students pre-kindergarten through 12th grade will be provided with in-person instruction for 5 days a week. Elementary students will go to school from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. So you're understanding that we reduced the time by 1 hour this past year. We'll go back to a full day again. And secondary students to come from 9 to 4. We will need to have all of our mitigation strategies remaining in place except for 2 things, and I mentioned them previously. One exception being moving the social distancing from 6 feet to 3 feet, and also to allow 2 students per seat on the bus. And so these are the exceptions that are going to be necessary for us to meet the law. All right, but the other mitigation strategies will remain in place, meaning that we will still require masks, we will still wipe down surfaces, we will still take temperatures, we'll still ask students to wash their hands regularly. And so by doing this in the fall, we believe that we can offer 5 days a week to all of our students that want to come back. The second thing that we are going to recommend is to provide a virtual option to students who want to take that option, but we will not be providing the Amherst Remote Academy. I think it's important for folks to understand is that Amherst County is at a size that makes it very difficult for us to divide our resources, our staff resources. And so we were able to do it this year. But I'm going to tell you now, it was very difficult to ask staff to do part of their job through the remote academy and then have students in the class on other days, and it made for very difficult conditions to provide the most quality instruction that we can. So what we have as an option is to use Virtual Virginia. Now, Virtual Virginia will provide synchronous learning, which means student and teacher will meet like we're doing right now, that you'll be able to be on live with a teacher throughout the day and doing your coursework. Virtual Virginia has the infrastructure, they have the technology to do this, they have the staffing to do this. And so since all we would have to do as a school division is students that wanted that Virtual Virginia option would be allowed to do so. The school division would pay for the tuition with our CARES Act funding. So CARES Act was put in place, those funds were put in place specifically so we can do things like this. And so if for whatever reason you still want to take a virtual option, this will be the option you'll be provided. Now, there are some criteria that need to be met. So your admission to these programs will be based on what you're currently doing. So how you did in virtual learning this year, the one that we're currently in. So how was your attendance? How is your engagement in the courses and getting your activities done, your work done, and even how are your grades, right? So those are all things that we will look at before we decide to allow you to enter into the Virtual Virginia program. Now, once you're accepted in Virtual Virginia, your ongoing participation throughout the year will be based on whether or not you're meeting certain criteria. And so some of those criteria are going to be, clearly you're going to have reliable high-speed internet. If you don't have that, you won't be able to participate in Virtual Virginia. It just will not be possible. We'll continue to monitor attendance. We'll continue to monitor your engagement and how your grades are going. And if students who fail to consistently meet that criteria, you'll be moved back into in-person learning. So we're going to have an option for virtual learning, but they will be criteria attached to that option. And so these are the two options that your students will have for the coming year. Like I said, these are recommendations at this point, and the school board will still need to get some information from us in the school division before they make that ultimate decision. So let me give you a timeline of how we're going to go about our business with this. And so April 15th, so last week, I presented these recommendations to the school board. So they had the information. From last Thursday to the next school board meeting, which is May 13th. So in the end of April, beginning of May, we're going to do a couple of things. We're going to share these recommendations with the school community. So I've done a podcast, I'm doing this video, we'll be putting things on social media just so all of our families, all of our staff understand what it is we've recommended. Also during this time, staff will be working on a more formalized version of the plan for next year. And so we'll put more details in that plan on things like what the hours are, what type of schedule. So in the past 2 years, we've had 7-period day at the secondary schools. Last year we did, this past year we did block scheduling. So all of those more detail-oriented things will show up in this plan, which in May 13th at our next school board meeting, we'll submit that plan to the school board. So they will have that document in place. That document then will be distributed to the community again. And then from the end of May to the beginning of June, we will put some things in place where we're seeking feedback from you, the community. Last year, we had great success with having a virtual town hall. We'll do something like that. We might have a couple of different opportunities to do that. We'll even do another survey to get some written feedback as well. And then by June the 10th, we will ask our school board to approve a specific plan for school year 2021 and through 22. So what we're asking you, the community, to do is, so you've heard what the recommendations are. They're general recommendations, but I think it's important to understand that you will have a 5-day-a-week, all-day option in person, and there will be some type of virtual option. It won't look like this year's option, however. And so what I would like for our community to do is, once that plan has been submitted in May, is to look over the plan, to ask questions, to provide feedback. We do have a virtual option. We do have an in-person option. And so we think that that's going to meet all of our students' needs. We just need your feedback on it. So please, when you get surveys, fill them out. When you're invited to come to town halls to discuss these things, please do that. We do value your opinion, and we need your opinion to make these things work. So you have the timeline here. You'll be getting more information over the next couple of months. We ask that if you have questions in the meantime, please reach out to us. We'll provide you with as much information as we have. I want to, I guess at this point, because we're closing in on the end of the year, and obviously a very difficult year, a trying year, one that required this entire school community to make sacrifices, to be flexible, to be patient. Hopefully by this fall, we'll have, I guess, more normalcy as it pertains to how we offer school. But I do want to thank all of you for this past year. It was successful because of the staff in Amherst County, because of the students in Amherst County, because of the parents in Amherst County, and then ultimately the support of our community. So I am very grateful to this school community to make this school year work. There are opportunities out there for summer school this year, so make sure you're looking out for information on that, because we want to make sure that we meet those academic needs that your child might have. So this is the plan. This is the recommendation at this point, and I hope that I hear from you soon, and we will continue to get this information out. The next key date for you is May 13th, when we present a formalized plan to the board. So please be looking out for that. Thank you for joining me today, and everybody have a great day.